What's up, Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I want to recap week 8 down in Philly at the Link against the Philadelphia Eagles. A gruesome Sunday. Obviously, we got to talk about Cam Skattebo and his gruesome injury that he suffered in the game and just the game as a whole. It was definitely ugly on several different layers. So followed a 2-6 is never fun. It was a 7-7 game. Giants threw a touchdown pass to Cam Skattebo. Dart looked good. The offense was moving in rhythm. And then Skattebo, there's a pass attempt to him over the middle of the field. It almost looks like a halfback angle on, I forget what down and distance it was, but then Zach Bond kind of just popped him, and then Skattebo went down. Funny. It was definitely the way Zach Bond tackled him that led to that specific injury. I don't think Bond did it intentionally, but all in all, it was just really ugly. I don't want to get into graphics. You could see it online if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely a terrible scene, and you saw the reaction of Jaxson Dart, the way he was very upset, getting consoled by his teammates, Tyler Nubin, Jameis Winston, both going up to him, trying to comfort him and tell him, he's got to move the team forward. Skattebo was taken to the hospital in Philadelphia and had surgery on Sunday night. Before leaving this game, I mentioned he had that touchdown catch. That was an 18-yard touchdown reception, 3 rushes for 12 yards in this game. And 2 weeks ago, he scored 3 touchdowns against the Eagles. He had 98 yards on the ground. He was a big reason why the Giants won that football game. So to not have that element in your offense really takes away from what you could do as a football team. And I think, all due respect to Tyrone Tracy, I think he played very honorable and serviceable in his place. But Cam Skattebo is an irreplaceable player, and it goes further than just the football field. It's the energy. It's the culture. It's the positivity that he brings to his teammates. He is a leader as a rookie, and you could see the culture changing. Quickly here, we'll go over his 2025 statistics. 8 games played, 410 rushing yards, averaging over 4 yards per carry with 5 rushing scores, 24 catches to 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you folks remember, it was an injury to Tyrone Tracy that really opened the door for Cam Skattebo to assume running back 1 roles. And Skattebo took it and ran with it. And as I said before the season started, I thought that Skattebo would be the top back on this roster by the time we hit mid-season. What I didn't realize is that it would only take 3 weeks for that to happen, which is insane. Really good hands as a pass catcher, constantly moving his legs. I like to call him a truck with no brakes. I wish him nothing but the best in his recovery. It was devastating. It ruined my Sunday. It took the energy out of the game for me. When that injury happened at that point, I really didn't care what happened if the Giants won or lose. I just assumed they were going to lose after that injury. It really took the life out of this offense, this team. A good gesture by Eagles fans, a lot of them standing up and giving him an ovation as he was carted off. And their head of security for Sirianni, DiSandro, Big Dom, as you know him, sent him pizza and cheesesteaks at the hospital. So shout out to Big Dom for that kind gesture. That's awesome to see. At the time of this recording, Skattebo has been discharged from the hospital, and rumor has it he wants to begin his rehab ASAP. So we'll see what happens there. I have here out for the season with a dislocated ankle. Now, this is just based on the surface. The Giants have not officially ruled him out for the season, but he's out for the season, guys. He's not coming back this season after that injury. You don't want the effects to linger long term. You want him to have a strong, healthy, and stable recovery. And yeah, it just looked awful getting twisted out of place like that. You really feel bad for the kid. He was having such a good season. He could have ended up as the top running back for rookies this season. Now with Tracy back at running back 1, he wasn't bad in this game. He had 10 rushes for 39 yards, and a lot of people have to remember Tracy was the starter last season. He took that job away from Devin Singletary. He ran for over 1,000 yards as a rookie. I mean, this guy has a lot of potential. We know he had made that transition from running back to receiver in college, but I think he has real potential to repeat what he did last year because it was around this time that he took over as the lead back. As long as Tracy stays healthy, it'll probably be, I would say, 60-40, 70-30 timeshare between him and Devin Singletary. I think Tracy gets about 70% of the carries moving forward. I'd expect to see Turbo elevated as that number 3 back. If you remember in preseason, Dart and Turbo had some really, really good chemistry. It was very exciting to see. We'll see if that translates to the football field in the future weeks of the season. All right, Jaxson Dart. Could this current crop of players stunt his development? We know how he reacted to the Skattebo injury. He was seen visibly upset with other teammates. In this game, he was 14 of 24 for 193 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 5 times. The Eagles, Vic Fangio, did an awesome job with the game plan, limiting him to 6 rushes for 17 yards. He did have another rushing score in this game. No turnovers for Dart either again, which is a positive sign. You saw him extend plays. Having Darius Slayton back was good. We'll talk about the penalties in a minute because I thought the officiating was atrocious in this game. But the Giants were 5 for 12 on third down, nowhere near as good as they were back in Week 6 at MetLife against this team, but they were certainly better. Dart, through 5 starts, he's 2-3, 984 yards. He's completed 60% of his passes, averaging 236 yards per game, 12 total touchdowns, 3 picks, and a 90.8 rating. And out of those 12 touchdowns, 8 of them are passing, 4 are rushing. Do the Giants need to acquire a wide receiver? Yes. Will they? Probably not. They're likely going to stick and hope guys like Little Jordan Humphrey and Bo Collins develop into more, serviceable talent. And Jalen Hyatt was a healthy scratch this week, so that is a massive concern. But outside of Slayton and Wandale, there's nobody in this receiving corps. There's nobody that could step up. Olszewski is strictly special teams. We've seen that. Amir Smith-Marset is on the practice squad. You have UDFAs like Juice Wells and Dalen Cambry. Maybe the Giants turn to one of them. Obviously, Juice, a college teammate of Jaxson Dart. But they're not going to give up future draft capital with the position that they're in to make a big splash. If they do make a turn before the deadline, it's going to be for an under-the-radar type of guy. So all in all, it's going to be very tough for the Giants to win more football games with this current receiving room that they have. And the reason why, now I see both sides of the argument. There's a portion of the fan base, kind of including myself, that's saying don't trade for a wide receiver to give up draft capital, right? But what if you gave up a day 3 pick, like a 5th or 6th round pick with a guy like a Deonte Banks, a guy who's no longer a fit? What could you get in return for it? Because this is the thing. Dart's development could get stunted by this, right? We want to see Dart flourish. We want to see him win Offensive Rookie of the Year. We want to see him make good plays and for the Giants to continue to win football games. We don't want his development to get messed up like what happened to Daniel Jones 6-7 years ago. That wasn't ideal, and look how that turned out. Dart, much better, more passes the eye test as a franchise quarterback, but I don't view this group of skill players as guys that could really move the needle. I don't see it. So I do think there is a part of me that is saying, don't pull the trigger, don't trade for anybody. But at the same time, do you want to see a future franchise quarterback, win a Super Bowl in the next 5-7 years? Do you want that guy to be Jaxson Dart? I mean, he looks the part. He's playing really well. He's confident. He brings a moxie, a swag, and he has the arm talent. He has the IQ. He has the legs. He has everything in what you want as a franchise quarterback. But my God, they need to surround him with more pieces. Now, I get it. You can't control the injuries to Malik Neighbors and Cam Skattebo. That's brutal. You're losing your 1 and 1A options in the offense. But where do you go from here, guys? Where do you go? That's my question to you if you're watching this video. So I think it's going to negatively affect his growth if they stay status quo with what they currently got. But again, like I said, my eyes are open to both sides of the argument. Lastly here, look, I'm one of the last people that likes to blame officials, right? If you lose the game, you probably deserve to lose. And I don't think the Giants would have won this game if the officiating was, different. But is it time as a whole to reevaluate officiating around the league? Because the Giants should not have lost this game by 18 points. There should have been a 7 to 10 point win for Philly. It was just so bad. We saw Darius Slayton had that 67-yard touchdown catch, which he beat Quinyon Mitchell, called for an offensive pass interference where Mitchell was clearly tugging the jersey of Slayton. I don't understand how that was called OPI. I don't know what the officials are looking at. I guarantee you, if the Giants get a phone call from the league saying, we're sorry, we messed that one up. Were the Giants screwed by the refs? Yeah, in that sense, they were. If you're going to allow the tush push to continue to be a consistent play in the NFL year after year, there needs to be some sort of regulation here, right? There needs to be a rule around it, and there is none. That insane no fumble call where it's basically the offense is pushing forward for 5 to 6 seconds, and the defense really can't do anything to begin with. Hurts fumbles, and it's recovered by Kayvon Thibodeau. The whistle was blown way too soon. Hurts was still moving. Like, what are you looking at? What are you doing? The play is still developing. It's still happening. Why are you blowing the whistle? Like, not every play is the same. But this play is such a gray area in the NFL. And, last year I was very indifferent about it. I didn't think it needed to be banned. I do now. I do now because I've seen it firsthand. And it's brutal. Kayvon Thibodeau clearly came up with that fumble recovery. It should have been Giants' ball. In fact, I had Eagles fans telling my former co-host Sam, who told me that they said that was a fumble and it should have been Giants' ball. So it's not just coming from the Giants fan base direction. It's coming from all fan bases, including Phillies, around the league. And the officiating was horrible. Don't get me wrong. It went both ways. There were some missed calls on the Eagles' end as well. But the magnitude of some of the calls against the Giants were just insane. And what happens, right? The next play, the Eagles score a touchdown after that missed fumble call. How about the neutral zone infraction on Kayvon Thibodeau, where the offensive lineman obviously moved? I already mentioned the Slayton OPI, right? Robinson, Wandale with that block in the back. Terrible call. And then the Corey Black defensive pass interference on 3rd and 22. That wasn't defensive pass interference. That's a play where you just let it happen. Both guys are making slight contact with each other. There was hand fighting going on. That's very normal in the NFL. It's not like where Black was blatantly holding the guy like this. In my opinion, right, even if it's not much and you do enough for them to throw the flag should be thrown. That was not the case on that play with Corey Black. And I get what the Eagles were doing. They were trying to take advantage of, the Giants' weaknesses in the secondary. They were down Cordell Flott. They were down Paulson Adebo. I think Dane Belton got a little nicked up as well, if I'm not mistaken. Art Green. Giants had nothing. They had Deonte Banks and Corey Black, and of course Drew Phillips in the slot by the end of that game. So the Eagles were trying to attack him and throw the ball down the field. But my God, that play, that was not defensive pass interference. And if that's not called, the Eagles are dealing with 4th and long and have to punt the football away. And the ball goes back to the Giants. So the moments of the game where these plays were called, these were critical mistakes that need to be looked into. I believe Terry McCauley, I believe that's his name, was on Fox with Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt and was agreeing with them. And Tom Brady was saying it. The Giants got royally screwed by some of these calls, and it was really, really bad. It is time to reevaluate the officiating in this league. I think the officials need to be paid more around the league. I know that sounds weird saying that, but the reason why The calls are as bad as they are. A lot of these officials are not full time. They work other jobs. They're not getting paid enough to care, quite frankly. So there has to be a money investment thing where, oh, yeah, the salary cap keeps going up in the NFL, but what about the money that's getting invested into officiating? It's a massive, massive concern. But anyway, regardless of that, the Giants did deserve to lose this game. I was by no means trying to implicate by that the Giants deserve to win the game. That's me saying that there were a few calls that could have changed the distance and score by the end of that game. And it was just absolutely brutal. Giants got screwed, especially that offensive pass interference and that fumble on the tush push that they missed. Those were the two plays that stuck out to me the most, and it was BS, quite frankly. Back to regularly scheduled programming, folks. Shane Bowen and his defense cannot stop the run. I don't know what has happened. The defense allowed 276 rushing yards. Barkley, first play from scrimmage for him, a 65-yard rushing touchdown. Atrocious job tackling. The angles that these safeties are taking is really bad. The absence of Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland showed in the secondary. Tyler Nubin is one of the worst safeties in football when it comes to tackling running backs. He's really bad. He doesn't take the correct angle lanes on how to tackle guys efficiently, and he gets beat. He's slow against faster backs, like guys like Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, guys like that. So it's just struggle. And I don't know what's going on with Dexter Lawrence, but it was just so surprising, right? The Eagles are down Cam Jurgens. Didn't play. Brett Toth played center. Dickerson just came back from injury. That gave them a huge lift in the run game. But, I mean, the Giants, you have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Bobby Okereke. I know McFadden's missing, but he has been the whole year. What is going on here? This was even a worrisome problem last year, and it did not get fixed in the offseason. And this is a clear reason why I think guys like Joe Schoen and Shane Bowen should still be on the hot seat. It's crazy. And Daboll as well. Just because Dart has panned out, there's issues on both sides of the football. And the issues on defense are glaring right now. It's a big problem. It's a big reason why the Giants lost the game to Dallas. And it's a huge reason why the Giants lost the game to Denver. This football team should at worst be 4-4. You could argue 5-3 if you throw the Saints game in there where they had all those turnovers. But defensive losses specifically, this should be a 500 football team. This should not be a 2-6 football team. They needed to just contain the run a little bit like they sort of did in week 6. But now looking back at it, it was more on Kevin Patullo for not calling more running plays. And the Giants were healthier in the secondary. That's what it boiled down to, guys. The defense had 4 sacks, but at what cost? At what cost? Can't stop the run. It doesn't matter what you do. Oh, yeah, Brian Burns, another sack. Great. 10 sacks on the year. Awesome. Who cares? They gave up 276 yards on the ground. Tank Bigsby had 104 rushing yards on 9 carries. You are not going to win many football games when you're getting outrushed 276-68. Awful. Awful work. One other thing, the banged-up secondary really showed. They were already down at Debo and Holland. You throw Flott and Green into the mix there with the injured DBs. It was bad. Hurts threw for 4 touchdown passes. He only threw for 179 yards, but still he was able to capitalize. Dallas Goedert had 2 touchdown catches. That one play action, there was no safety help on the back end. Goedert just slipped behind the second-level defenders and scored with ease. There was nobody there from the back line to make a play. And it was so bad, this is the first time the Eagles outgained an opponent this season. They went 7 weeks without outgaining anybody. That includes the Giants back in week 6. Obviously, Philly made some adjustments. Shout out Sirianni, Patullo, and Fangio. They did a good enough job, realized, we didn't do this well enough in the first game, right? Yeah, if Cam Skattebo was healthy, it might have been a different story in terms on the offensive end, but it doesn't change the fact that the Giants sucked on the defensive side of the ball. They couldn't stop a nosebleed in this game, right? When you run the ball for 276 yards, the opposing quarterback is going to have time to deliver strikes down the field. whether it's play action rollouts, drop back passes, shotgun, you name it. And Big Blue couldn't do anything about it. Special teams wise, by the way, I thought Gunnar Olszewski was great returning kicks. He's an awesome kick returner. Good job by Joe Shane and company bringing him back. I'll give them credit there. Graham Gano, finally, we could kick field goals and PATs again. 2 for 2 on field goals in his return, including a 47-yarder. Mikatomne and Koo are both still on the practice squad. It's pretty interesting that the Giants have 2 kickers there. I do think, I guess at this point, you try to ride the season with that, but next offseason, they need to draft a kicker or sign a free agent kicker. Graham Gano, I think after this year, you have to move on. The injuries are just too much. He's good when he's healthy. He makes his kicks. He's accurate. The operation's clean. That's not the problem. It's the age, and it's the durability. That's a concern. Lastly here, Giants have the second most penalty yards in the NFL with 560 yards. In change, they also have the second most beneficiary penalty yards in the NFL at 633 yards. So it boils down to this. They're not disciplined. They're committing too many penalties. That falls on Brian Daboll and the coaching staff. And they're 2-6 by getting the second most penalty yards in their favor in the NFL at 633. Unable to take advantage. Again, more reasons why Brian Daboll and Joe Shane should still, despite hitting on Dart, Carter, and Skattebo, should very much still be on the hot seat entering, the midway point of this season. And if there is a change, it won't come until the end of the season. But I do think their jobs are not 100% safe for next year. As of right now, I would say that they're both staying, but 2-6 is not good enough. You got to make sure that Jaxson Dart has the right pieces around him to succeed. And it's not just personnel, it's coaching, it's upper management, the front office, you name it. And all in all, if we want to see this team make a push for the playoffs in 2026, it's got to start now. You got to start winning some games now. Enough of this tanking for a high draft pick. I don't want to hear it. They got to start winning football games because you're going to see the same stuff next year. If they finish 4-13, 5-12, it's going to be a situation where, let's get to 500 next year. You're not making the playoffs at 500. I want to start winning games now and be relevant again and start getting respect around the NFL. And we were starting to get that when we beat the Chargers and when we beat the Eagles. Sitting at 2-4, that was our chance. That was our window right there. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's the state of this New York Football Giants team. And I feel your pain, folks. I feel it. But let's stay as optimistic as we can. The 49ers are coming into town this week. They are injury riddled. We don't know if it'll be Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. Anticipation says Purdy will be back this week to start, but we will see what happens. Nevertheless, no Cam Skattebo. It's going to hurt. Folks, if you like what you watch, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. Ring the bell for notifications. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think on this video. Do you agree or disagree with my analysis on this team? I want to hear it. Love all the fans and their interaction. Also, check us out on Instagram and Twitter for our weekly posts. Awesome work on there. Shout out to our social media crew. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.